The National Fatwa Council will be announcing a decision on the practice of yoga this coming November 6. The move might categorize yoga as haram for Muslims in this country. Yoga, practiced as a form of physical exercise, has gained popularity among Malaysians in the past 1 decade, as many pick it up to promote strength, flexibility and fitness. We meet with one of the most popular yoga teachers in the country, Nini Ahmad, to explain a little bit more about yoga as a form of physical exercise.
Basically, a typical yoga class would start with a breathing exercise with a warm-up sequence that would last about 5 to 10 minutes just to get your body and your lungs prepared to be absorbing that many oxygen, and also for the vigorous stretching that will be done throughout the class. And for a normal 60-minute yoga class, the rest half an hour is actually depending on the level or type of yoga class and the difficulty level. The half an hour would be actually sequence, if not an individual pose of stretching, balancing and also strengthening poses. And a yoga class would end with a resting session where you will, it's almost, if not very similar to cooling down effect after any exercise. What they are doing is a variation of warrior pose, where you have to hold the pose for a couple of breaths, about 5 to 8 to 10 breaths, and you will really feel, if done right, your hamstring, your calf muscle and also your forearm muscle, which are hardly used unless you're in a yoga class, because it's not always you are twisted this way outside of yoga class, would actually make you very patient as a person. And I feel if you can endure the pain in a yoga class in such pose, you become a less angry person. This is one of the simplest balancing pose, variation from 3 pose. It might seem easy, but you have to remember that you have to balance and take your whole body weight on one's foot, and without breathing properly, without proper technique, a normal person can't really do this longer than 3 to 5 breaths, where an experienced practitioner can hold it for about a minute, even with your eyes closed. Because yoga is, I think, one of the rare exercises that combine balancing, strengthening and also stretching, which are very important aspects in, for me personally, fitness and health. And by being able to incorporate all these 3 elements in an exercise, I feel that yoga would complement most of your other exercises. And even if you don't do any other sports, this, I think, is sufficient enough for you to stay healthy and to stay looking fit.
As a Muslim, Nini also gave her thoughts on the practice of yoga and Islam.
Okay, I think their intention is pure to simply not wanting Muslims who practice yoga here to deviate their faith when they practice yoga, because they claim that while you're practicing it, you might not realize that it's an act of imitating animals or imitating how Hindus pray and such. And I think due to their extensive research, of course, yoga, I can't deny that it derived from India, but as the world evolved, yoga has evolved, and what yoga that's practiced here in Malaysia and globally is not what yoga that they might have just found out through reading or researching. And unless you go to yoga classes at temples or ashrams, I think if you go to any yoga class at gymnasiums or yoga centers I'm very certain that no chantings or no religious factor involved or imposed at all. So I feel that it is unfair for them to say that this has to stop, because this has definitely benefited thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of us Muslims in Malaysia, not to mention millions else in the world. Should the result be negative, or should they decide, the Fatwa Council decide that yoga is haram, God forbids, but I think in Klang Valley alone, from my research, there are about more or less 100,000 yoga practitioners, and I'd like to believe 20,000 of them are Muslims, and they chose yoga because it works for them, it has benefited them, and I think it will be a loss to the nation and to the country because of this, and also because I know personally there are many yoga business operators that are Muslims and Malays, and I know it will also affect retail business. And personally for me, I have a yoga blog which I get income from, and if I can share this, which I'm already affected because advertisers have started pulling out their advertisements from my blog, and being an ambassador for one of the biggest sporting brand in the world, carrying the name of a yoga ambassador, I will be very affected. And I just hope that if whatever decision that's going to come out, see it with an open mind, impose regulations as long as you don't ban it totally, because you have to experience a good yoga class. You have to understand what yoga is really all about before you can say yoga is wrong.
Debbie Chan, The Star, Malaysia.